Welcome back. This is a review of the Huawei Mate X3. I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, click the like button and subscribe. Comment below and let me know your thoughts. So I'm going to try and make this the most polished and well put together video that I can make. Obviously I'm not filming in the best conditions, it is nearly dark, but we'll carry on as always. But we need to talk about this phone because this is a phone that, you know, promises high, but does it really deliver on that promise? Well, let's find out in my full review. So to start with, let's talk about the screens. You've got the screen on the front, OLED, and obviously you've got your flexible OLED in the middle. Now this is a complicated one because these screens, I would say, are very nice. There was a lot of criticism, people saying, oh, they're not bright enough. Personally, I've had no issues with the brightness. Of course, they're not the brightest panels in the world, but then you have to have some sort of compromise between great brightness and battery life. But yeah, I've had no problems at all. Then blacks, you know, they really are contrasty. The vibrant colours are fantastic when you're watching or editing photos. But in terms of what they're made out of, so they're made out of Huawei's Kunlun glass, which they believe to be one of the most strongest smartphone glasses in the world. In my testing with it, there's a couple of little scratches on it here and there, but overall it does seem pretty solid. The inner panel, on the other hand, is an odd one. Obviously you won't be able to pick it up on camera, but the crease itself, it's almost worryingly marked. It's not damaged or anything like that, but you can almost see different pressure points of the hinge in the crease. It hasn't got any worse or anything like that, and you know, I'm fully aware that's probably how it's supposed to be. But going from somebody who has never used a folding phone before to this, it does add that element of worry into the equation when you're spending obviously nearly £2,000 on a folding phone, which by the way is too much. It is not worth that. Not when you've got great competition like the OnePlus you know, newest foldable. I think that does offer a better value for money. The phone might be super thin and fairly lightweight, however it doesn't stop it from feeling extremely well made and really well put together. I do really think it is one of the nicest folding phones I've used. So although I haven't owned a folding phone before, I've used and tested a couple on occasions where that's been possible. Of course, my main comparisons here are going to be with a traditional smartphone, because that's what I spent most of my time testing and using on a daily basis. I think the standout features for the design for me are how thin the phone feels, the fact you can hold it in one hand even open, and how much a stunning smartphone it really is to look at. The hinge can be propped up at pretty much any angle, and some apps are optimised for it extremely well, like the camera app. Just look how pretty this phone is in terms of the competition. But besides the design and the looks, what else are you getting when you're purchasing a Huawei Mate X3? Well, in terms of speakers, the speaker quality on this is average, if not okay. I suppose for a thin device it must be hard to create good sounding stereo speakers, and these are fine, but these are not on the same level as a P60 Pro that sound amazing. Charging speed remains really good, however. A maximum charging speed of 66 watt wired and 50 watt wireless, with around 7.5 watts reverse wireless charging. That is a really nice feature to have, and something that OnePlus Open is missing. Of course, being a Huawei device, it features no Google services and a lack of 5G. Besides this, in terms of software, it's another area where this phone has been criticised. However, in my testing, I've actually got on quite well with EMUI on a foldable phone. I feel like the feature set that it offers really complements the folding design of a smartphone. As you guys have seen, I use Huawei Petal Clip to edit all of my videos, and this just shows you some of the innovations that they've made with their software on a folding phone. It's a really nice app to use on a large display, and it's optimized extremely well. You've got multi-window support, split app support, and obviously a few other Huawei bits chucked in. A small annoyance in my testing though is the YouTube doesn't offer split controls like it does on the Samsungs or the Google folding phones. This is probably due to me using G-Space as a workaround for my Google apps. Performance and smoothness have remained fantastic, however, and the device stays extremely cool, a lot cooler than my P60 Pro, which is interesting since it's using the same chipset. 512 gigs of storage and 12 gigs of RAM, this phone flies. and it's expandable with Huawei's own memory card. So let's talk about the cameras, and this is where it gets even more interesting. A solid set of cameras, however a slight missed opportunity, as I'm going to explain. Okay, so let's talk about the photos. Here's comparisons with my Huawei P60 Pro. And as you can see, the P60 Pro is on another level. It's got much better sharpness, although the colours are very evenly matched throughout all lenses on both the P60 Pro and the Mate X3, so it's nice to see that Huawei are using similar algorithms to process the images. Dynamic range, sharpness and contrast are all handled well, sometimes with a slight boost in shadows that can result in a slightly hazy image, or with exposure that's slightly too high for the actual conditions that were present at the time. Night shocks are also a mixed bag on the Mate X3. Sometimes they can cope and they're acceptable, however sometimes you get a blurry mess with large amounts of lens flare and detail that isn't there. With the main sensor, it's using an f1.9 aperture, so its low light performance is acceptable but not outstanding like the P60 Pros. The telephoto camera at night don't even bother with. As soon as you get to around 9 times zoom, the phone will switch to the telephoto camera, and boy can you notice it, because this camera is not built for dark conditions. There's also a super macro mode on the Mate X3 just like the P60 Pro, and my god is it disappointing. You can see in these samples here that this camera cannot focus at short distances like the P60 Pro can, and the detail levels are not there. The colours of this telephoto camera in daytime though are really nice, and sometimes can actually be better than the P60 Pro. Colour reproduction in general is a highlight of the Mate X3. Ultra wide camera I would say is similar, if not identical, to the P60 Pro. The results are certainly similar in all testing conditions, that's for sure. Sharpness is pretty good, however its low light performance is lackluster compared to the competition. Video wise, the phone can capture videos at 4K at 30 frames per second on all lenses. With stabilisation on all lenses, not as good as the P60 Pro, and sometimes focus issues are a regular occurrence. Apart from that, videos remain sharp, detailed and good in all lighting conditions. On the main camera at least. In darker and low lit conditions, the telephoto video as well as the ultra wide video can fall apart and sharpness really starts to drop off. But again, this is the thing, I'm comparing this to the best smartphone camera I believe on the market, so for it to even hold up against that phone, as a foldable phone it's doing a really good and respectable job. Of course it has its faults, but in general I'd have confidence to say that this is the best cameras on any folding phone. Of course I need to test other devices to see whether this claim can be backed up, but from my testing I'd be happy to recommend this to anyone who is after a good folding phone with an excellent camera, as long as you obviously look out for its weaknesses. If you liked this detailed look at the Huawei Mate X3 in a slightly different kind of video, let me know what you think below. Like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching.